After nearly 5 decades of mystery, a single comment from Priscilla Presley has reignited one of the most jaw-dropping theories the internet has ever seen. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. The pause, the look, the cryptic choice of words that left fans frozen in disbelief. In the quiet between her sentences, something seismic shifted. Could it be that the biggest secret in rock and roll history has been hiding in plain sight all along? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear might rewrite everything you thought you knew. August 16th, 1977. A date etched into the hearts of millions. The day the world was told that the king had taken his final bow. Found in his Graceland bathroom, gone before his time, or so we were led to believe. The headlines were swift. The mourning was worldwide. And yet, almost instantly, something didn't sit right. The suddenness, the silence, the lack of real closure. For some fans, grief turned into doubt, and that doubt became a firestorm of speculation. Could someone as iconic, as larger-than-life as Elvis Presley really vanish so quietly, so conveniently? In the years that followed, that single moment of disbelief cracked wide open into 1,000 theories. Whispers turned into books, sightings turned into documentaries. Some claimed he was spotted in Argentina. Others swore they heard his voice in gospel churches deep in the South. A common thread connected them all. Elvis, the man who once shook the world, may have simply chosen to walk away from it. Escaping the prison of fame, reinventing himself far from the flashing cameras and screaming fans. A secret exit strategy crafted by a man desperate for peace. Sound far-fetched? Maybe, but the more you look, the harder it is to dismiss. Then came a new name, a soft-spoken pastor with a voice that sent chills down listeners' spines. Bob Joyce. At first, he was just a man of faith preaching in a small church. But it didn't take long for the internet to notice. Fans noticed his face, then his voice, then the eerily familiar way he smiled. Could it all really be coincidence? That question, simple, unsettling, launched a modern obsession. The videos began to circulate, side-by-side comparisons, voice analyses, even gait breakdowns. And as the fascination deepened, so did the mystery. Because Bob Joyce wasn't just a lookalike. There was something else, something hauntingly familiar that no one could quite explain. Pastor Bob Joyce never asked to be famous. For years, he lived a quiet life, tucked away in a modest corner of Arkansas, preaching to a small but devoted congregation. His sermons were humble, heartfelt, and rooted in deep spiritual conviction. He wasn't flashy. He didn't seek headlines. He simply did what he felt called to do: serve, sing, and spread a message of faith. But as the digital age crept in and his church services were shared online, something unexpected happened. A new kind of attention began to swirl, not for his message, but for something else entirely. It wasn't just that his voice was beautiful. It was that it sounded hauntingly familiar, rich, soulful, that deep Southern resonance, the kind that made hearts ache and audiences swoon. People started comparing his singing to someone they thought they'd never hear live again. And the resemblance didn't stop at sound. The way he moved, the lift of his brow when he smiled, the slow, deliberate cadence in his speech. Every detail seemed to echo someone unforgettable. The questions came quietly at first, then they erupted into a storm. Who was this man, really? As more eyes turned toward Pastor Joyce, his once peaceful corner of the internet turned into a swirling center of speculation. Fans dug deeper, hunting through footage, zooming in on expressions, layering audio clips. They weren't just curious. They were convinced there was something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. Entire YouTube channels dedicated themselves to examining every sermon, every song. "Look at the way he raises his hands here," one commenter noted. "That's the exact gesture from the '68 special." Another played a voice overlay of Pastor Joyce's gospel rendition and an old live track from decades ago, flawlessly aligned. Coincidence or something much more? And here's where it gets almost surreal. Listen closely, close your eyes even, and the line begins to blur. Is that Bob Joyce preaching with a pastor's heart? or someone else reaching out through the melody of faith? The phrasing, the tone, the power behind each note. It's almost impossible to tell. If you close your eyes, one fan wrote, is it Bob speaking or Elvis singing gospel again? And just like that, what began as curiosity took on the shape of something deeper, something that refused to be ignored. What started as a few curious whispers quickly morphed into a full-blown online phenomenon. Theories swirled across forums, timelines, and comment sections like wildfire. Photo comparisons flooded social media. Screenshots from decades-old performances stacked side by side with recent snapshots from small-town church services. Fans dissected every wrinkle, every tilt of the head, every shadow of a smile. Side-by-side videos played in slow motion, synced down to the syllable, each frame a case study in uncanny resemblance. Some called it obsession, others called it truth finally resurfacing. Either way, the internet wasn't letting go. Inevitably, the speculation caught the attention of someone who had every reason to know the truth, Priscilla Presley. As the woman who had shared both a life and a legacy with the man at the center of this storm, her voice carried weight. When reporters asked her about the theories, she could have shut them down in a second. A simple no would have sufficed, but that's not what happened. Instead, she offered a pause, a measured breath. And then came the words that lit the fuse all over again. People see what they want to see. It wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. Calm, controlled, almost too careful. Her tone left more questions than answers, and fans immediately picked up on the subtle tension behind her smile. What followed next only fueled the fire. In a later interview, she added almost offhandedly, "Sometimes the past has a way of finding its own voice." It was the kind of cryptic line that could be brushed off by skeptics, but to those already deep in the mystery, it felt like a breadcrumb, a deliberate nudge. Suddenly, her every gesture was under the microscope. Every blink, every nod, every pause was analyzed like code. Was she holding back, protecting a secret? What she said next, fans began to murmur, might be the most revealing moment of all. When Priscilla Presley uttered the words, "Sometimes the past has a way of finding its own voice," the internet practically exploded. It wasn't just a statement, it was a spark tossed onto a wildfire of speculation. Fans clung to every syllable, replaying it over and over, trying to decode what she really meant. Was it a metaphor, a poetic reflection, or was it something far more revealing, a quiet confirmation wrapped in plausible deniability? The ambiguity was maddening, yet utterly irresistible. She didn't offer clarity, she offered a riddle. Within hours, social media lit up with theories. Comment threads grew into digital rabbit holes, where fans became amateur sleuths, dissecting not just her words but her body language, her expression, even the way she shifted in her seat during the interview. Did her eyes flicker when the name was mentioned? Did her voice catch slightly on the word past? Clips slowed to half speed, freeze-framed to catch the faintest smirk or flicker of discomfort. Every gesture was studied like scripture. Each pause and glance transformed into a potential clue in a mystery still unraveling. And it begs the question, if this was all just coincidence, why not end the conversation once and for all? Why leave the window cracked open? Priscilla, more than anyone, has the power to shut this down completely, and yet she hasn't. Not definitively. If this was just a coincidence, one fan posted, why leave the door open? Why not slam it shut? Instead, that door now swings wider than ever, and what lies on the other side continues to mesmerize, mystify, and provoke a question that just won't go away. Fame, for all its glitz and glamour, can slowly become a golden cage. At first, it's thrilling. Adoration from millions, lights flashing, voices screaming your name. But over time, that spotlight begins to burn. For some, it's a dream come true. For others, it's a prison with no escape. The man at the center of this mystery was pulled in every direction, every handshake, every photo op, every performance a draining ritual that left him hollow. The exhaustion wasn't just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, and unrelenting. The adoring crowds couldn't see the pills behind the smile, the pressure beneath the rhinestones. Behind the curtain, he wasn't the legend. He was just a man trying to catch his breath. The celebrity status that once seemed like a crown had become a weight on his shoulders. Privacy was a myth, peace, a fantasy. The headlines painted him as invincible, but the reality was far more fragile. What happens when the very thing that made you a star begins to consume you? How long can anyone live under that level of scrutiny before something breaks? The fame he had once chased with joy now chased him back, and there was nowhere left to run, unless he chose a path no one saw coming. And that brings us to an unexpected place, a quiet chapel nestled far from Hollywood, where a man named Bob Joyce delivers sermons with the calm presence of someone who has made peace with the world. The contrast is almost poetic. No flashing bulbs, no screaming crowds, just the steady rhythm of hymns and heartfelt words. It's in this stillness that a new question emerges. Maybe he wasn't running from fans. Maybe he was running toward peace, toward a life not defined by legacy, but by serenity. And perhaps, just perhaps, he found exactly what he was searching for. When you lay the pieces side by side, the voice that echoes from another time, the face that seems carved from memory, the posture that carries an unmistakable confidence, it's easy to see why the whispers haven't faded. The age lines up, the timeline doesn't clash. The voice, nearly indistinguishable. It's not just a resemblance, it's a resurrection of familiarity that stops people in their tracks. Add to that a silence that speaks volumes, and you begin to understand why some say this isn't just speculation. It's a story hiding in plain sight. Bob Joyce has never issued a firm denial, no press conference, no social media post to lay it all to rest. Just silence, graceful, unwavering silence. He doesn't fan the flames, but he certainly doesn't put them out either. And it's that quiet, so intentional, so measured, that drives believers even deeper into the mystery. To them, that silence isn't an absence of truth. It's a clue, a soft nod, a knowing wink to those willing to look past the obvious. Because when someone truly has nothing to hide, why not just say so? But the moment that sealed it for many wasn't Bob's demeanor. It was hers. Priscilla Presley, the one person who would know the truth above all others, the keeper of the king's most intimate secrets, has refused to slam the door shut. Time and time again, when given the chance to dismiss the rumors, she chooses cryptic words, loaded pauses, and careful smiles. And that's what makes it impossible to walk away. Because when Priscilla won't deny it, maybe it's not meant to be denied. Few figures in modern history have left a mark as deep and enduring as the man at the center of this mystery. He didn't just change music, he transformed culture. He made rebellion sound like rhythm and heartbreak feel like poetry. Decades after his final bow, his influence still echoes through stages, speakers, and memories. For fans who grew up watching him shine and for new generations discovering his magic, the idea that he might still be with us isn't just a theory, it's a connection. A bridge between past and present, a way to keep the flame alive, even if the world insists it went out long ago. Whether this story is rooted in truth or wrapped in the fabric of legend, one thing is clear, it matters, not just because of what it suggests, but because of what it symbolizes. The belief that some stars shine so brightly, they simply refuse to fade. For many, the theory isn't about deception, it's about devotion, it's about hope. The hope that somewhere, somehow, the man who gave the world so much might still be out there, living a quieter chapter of the life he never got to finish in the spotlight. And maybe, just maybe, that chapter is playing out far from the roar of the crowd. In the hush of a chapel, in the warmth of a humble sermon, in the voice that still carries a spark of something timeless. In the quiet of a church, in the cadence of a sermon, maybe the king found his encore. And maybe, in holding on to that idea, fans aren't clinging to a myth. They're preserving a legacy. One note, one whisper, one memory at a time. If this story stirred your curiosity, made you question what you thought you knew, or simply pulled you deeper into the mystery, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more captivating deep dives, And be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you think. Could there be more to this story than meets the eye? Let's keep the conversation going together.